So we're probably sure that you guys have had encounters with people in public that have either been funny or embarrassing. So we are going to share ours with you guys. Some of the like funny encounters that we've had, they've happened kind of recently.
Yeah.
Some of them have been like years, and I mean years ago.
Yeah.
Some of them possibly could have had criminal charges.
Absolutely.
Some of them actually did.
Yeah.
So I'm in my yard the other day, and I'm coming back in from taking the trash out, and people fly up and down my road all the time, which we know.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a city official for Harrisburg, that'd be great. But anyway, so I'm walking in, and this guy is like flying up the road, and as he's getting ready to pass my house, he slams on the brakes, and he goes, Andrew, and he's like waving at me. I'm like, turn around because I have no clue who Andrew is. And he says, you're not Andrew. Like, Andrew used to live here. Like, but you're not Andrew.
You're not.
Like, yeah, no, man, I have no clue. Okay, man, have a good day. And then just zips up the hill. So I'm like standing out in my front yard on my sidewalk.
Andrew today.
Yeah. But normally, like, if somebody embarrasses themselves,
Yeah.
like, I'll try to smooth it out for them.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm at Walmart the other day with all this crazy stuff with this COVID-19 thing going on. And I'm, like, pushing my buggy, stop at the end of the aisle, peek into, like, the aisle to get what I need, and turn around, and this guy's, like, has my buggy now, and is just took off. So I'm like, hey, man, excuse me. And he stops, turns around, and comes back to me. He's like, hey, man, how are you? And I was like, good, man. How are you? And he goes into, like, talk to me like we're, like, these lifelong friends.
Yeah.
So he's like, he said, it's been a while since I've seen you, huh? And I was like, yeah, man, it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah. How's everybody doing? How's the family doing? So, like, at this point, I've chummed up to him. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, man, they're doing great. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's doing great. Everybody's doing just fine. And he says, all right, man, well, have a good day. And I thought originally that he thought he knew me
Yeah.
and was taking my buggy just to, like, be funny.
Yeah.
But then at that point, when he turned around, like, he had no clue that he had my buggy. So he goes back and he's, like, pushing my buggy again. And I'm like, hey, sir, excuse me. And he's like, yeah, man, hey. I'm like, that's my buggy. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like,
Did you have stuff in your buggy?
oh, yeah, I had all kinds of stuff. Like my jacket, because it was hot, so I got my jacket. And I was super hot because I was drinking coffee, so my hat was like, all my stuff was in the buggy. This guy didn't even look. He just takes off of my buggy and goes off. Later to find out that I finally told him, man, I have absolutely no clue who you are or where you think we've met or who you think I look like or whatever it may be. Like, I have no clue. So it was just funny because he put his head down and then he just like went around his buggy and then was like trying to speed past me because he had to be embarrassed.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
we've never met each other.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, hey, man, like, it was cool to meet you anyway. Like,
Yeah.
in case we run into each other again, now we kind of like, we've been down this road before. Like, so it's,
So, that's what's nice about the pleasantries of conversation. You're nice, and you try to smooth things out. You don't want to be rude.
yeah, for sure.
You just try to make them feel comfortable. But I'm married to a twin. So anytime that my wife is not with me and she is with me, it's always super awkward because people automatically assume that it's my wife every time.
Because they're twins.
Exactly. So we're in the store, and if Kelly's walked away and me and Katie are walking down the store, bam, we see somebody and it's automatic, oh, how are you guys doing? How's ministry? Blah, blah, blah. And Katie just goes along with it. Like, she's just like, she acts like she's Kelly. But one of the best times in my mind that sticks out was we're at her family's church. Okay. And
At her family's.
her family's church. This is basically all of her family.
Wouldn't they know, though?
You would think, but they're identical. But they're not identical. They're fraternal, but they're identical. They look identically the same. So we walk in, and people are coming up. Everybody's in church. They're shaking hands. How you doing? they're calling her Kelly. So you're like, I'm sitting there thinking, this whole time they think we're Kelly. So like I'm awkwardly sitting beside her in the church pew. Like, do I need to put my arm around her? do I need to act like we're together, or like do I act like we're mad, or like because pastor's going to look down and start.
Where was Kelly?
This has been years ago. She's probably home playing video games or something. So and that's the thing is, I'm leaving church. Someone I feel like with someone else's wife or someone else's girlfriend. Like I feel like I just walked in and I had obtained something that's mine, and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I get it. That I think one of like the funniest things talking about like churches, and especially when it comes to, I don't know, maybe taking things that are yours, is my play church experience.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's so bad. I should probably be in jail. If I hadn't had gotten the phone call that I got from the pastor like after the fact, I probably would be. So, we were basically like doing a complete remodel, overhaul to the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And we were putting in new sound equipment, new speakers, new soundboard, new everything. Shout out Sweetwater, you should sponsor us. But anyway, they had sent the order to us, right?
Yeah.
So I'm following this, all the tracking and order tracking and everything online, because it's the first like big order that I've been a part of in a church, and I was the one who helped place the order.
Yeah.
So if the order comes up missing, like I feel like I'm gonna be the one that's like that's gonna be out to dry with my neck.
Yeah.
Like I'm the one who's gonna be the one responsible for this. So I'm tracking everything on FedEx, like every single minute. Like, is it delivered? Is it delivered? Is it delivered? Because it was supposed to be delivered to someone's house.
Yeah.
And but it had the church's name as to who was supposed to be receiving it, but it was going to somebody's house. So I get this thing that says it's been delivered. And I'm like, awesome, because I've been super pumped about doing this whole thing anyway, because we're having new equipment. Everybody likes new equipment. Everybody likes new stuff. So I call our pastor and I'm like, hey, this is that it's delivered. And he's like, I've been sitting here all day. It's not delivered. I'm like, you know what? He plays jokes on me all the time.
Of course.
So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, well, he's just kind of messing with me. I'm like, it literally says here that it was delivered. Like, FedEx says it's delivered. Haha, joke's over.
Yeah.
And he says, man, listen, I'm not messing with you. Like, it's really not here.
Which is hard to believe. Yeah.
So I'm still kind of like skeptical of it. And then I look into the invoice of it, and it was sent to a completely different zip code than what our zip code was. So that's why I started freaking out, because I'm like, okay, where is it? So then I immediately call the guy who helped me place the order, and I'm like, hey man, what's the, where did this go to? He's like, oh, it shows it's delivered. And he tells me it's Clay, West Virginia. Well, I'm in Summersville, the church is in Jim. So they're about 3 hours apart from each other.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm conveniently in the middle, right? Because that's just where I worked at the time. So I go to my boss and I'm like, hey man, listen, like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta find this stuff. What do you mean? I'm like, my neck is on the line for this order. I have to go.
You don't understand.
If something happens to this, I'm toast.
It's over.
I'll have to go into like witness protection. I'm out. So I get in my car and I'm like Googling the church's address, except in Clay, West Virginia.
Yeah.
So I find the house,
which is so crazy.
Which is insane. So, but on the way there, it's a 1-lane road the entire way there.
Oh my word.
And it's gravel.
Oh my word.
From where I was at. So like I had to go over top of this mountain and through the woods to
grandma's house?
To Clay's county house is where I had to go. But I go all the way there and I get to the house and I knock on the door and it's this guy I said, hey, there's a delivery from FedEx and I'm sure it was delivered here by accident, man, so I just need to get like the packaging and kind of roll, if it could be that easy. And he's like, man, no package got delivered here.
Oh my word.
And I'm like, yeah, man, except for right here, it says it was delivered. You're the second person today who told me this didn't get delivered to your house. It says it was delivered. He's like, I'm telling you, there's no way that it got delivered here. So I don't know what to do. And I turn around and he's, maybe it got delivered to that church. So I'm thinking that they saw like church on the label.
Yeah.
And then just assumed that it was going to a church. So they found a church that was close to that address. It was conveniently in the parking lot, and they just left it.
Shout out to FedEx.
Yeah. So I go over to this church. There's a car parked outside. I knock. I call the phone number. I ring the doorbell. I go to every door surrounding this church, and I'm like, all right, I've at least narrowed it down to here. It has to be here.
Yeah.
Right? So I go around. I get no answer. Nobody answers the door. Nobody answers the phone. Nobody answers anything at all. So that I'm like, I really don't have much of a choice. So I just start turning doorknobs. There's a car here, right? So someone's here.
Yeah.
They just maybe can't hear the door.
Yeah.
They can't hear the doorbell. They're away from the phone. I don't know. So I just start turning doorknobs. So I'm down the bottom and I turn the doorknob and it opens, and there's all of our stuff. Like, it has our name on the label. It has the church's name on the label. I matched up the FedEx numbers, even if the names weren't the same to be sufficient.
Yeah.
I even matched up like the tracking numbers and everything on it. So I called my pastor and I'm like, hey, what do I do? And he's like, you got to try to get a hold of him. I was like, okay. So I hang up, start keep calling, leave voicemails, everything, nothing. And then I finally just made like the executive decision, like our names on the package, like I'm just gonna take it.
It's mine.
Then I back up with my Jeep to the door and just start loading stuff into my car, shut the door, take off. Right? I've already finished missing the entire day of work.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm like, I gotta go deliver all this equipment. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from like the pastor of that church. He's like, hey, I saw your voicemail and just wanted to return your call. Did you get your equipment?
Wow.
I'm like, well, I did.
It was laying in your bottom of the church.
I said, I apologize. I'm not like wanting to, just go ahead and taking stuff, but like I didn't really have much of a choice. He's like, no, man, I fully understand. I'm glad you guys got your stuff. Call me if you guys need anything. Super nice guy. Really good guy. And then shortly after that, we were doing kind of a similar thing to the youth group.
Yeah.
In the back of the youth room, and we were doing some more kind of local stuff. But all the cables and wires and everything that we needed, and the boxes for the video, all that was delivered to my work because I thought I was supposed to be working that day with the schedule change. So it was my day off, and I'm going through Fayetteville, which if you don't know anything about Fayetteville, you know that you got to watch your speed, otherwise you're going to get taken in, right? So I stopped at Walmart because we were putting up TVs instead of using the projector,
which was awesome.
and it was great. And so I've got these 2 TVs, and I'm like in a hurry to get to Summersville where I work to get all this stuff. So I can again go back, new stuff, want to get it all put together, have it look nice for everybody. And so I have these 2 TVs in the back of my car, and I'm hauling. I'm just flat out flying. And
which is normal.
Which is it's not normal, not necessarily normal, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so I get the TVs in the back of the car, and I'm going down the road, and of course, blue lights behind me. Which for a while, like every 6 months, I had a pattern. Every 6 months, I would get a ticket. Of course, every 6 months it was for speeding. Every 6 months, I would get a ticket.
Right.
So I'm like, well, I literally look at my calendar, and I'm like, oh well, it's about time.
Yeah.
I'm overdue. Yeah, it is time. So I get my pull over, get my license registration, have everything out, have it all ready, and he comes up and he's like, do you know I pulled you over the standard stuff?
Yeah.
And he's like peeking in the back of my car, and I'm like, I handed my stuff, and he said, so do you have a receipt for those TVs that you just bought? And I'm like, oh well, yeah, no, I definitely do. And he's like, I'd like to see it. You were kind of driving fast coming out of Walmart parking lot, so I would just like to see, your receipts.
I thought he got him.
Yeah, so I give him my receipt and everything. I tell him I'm a youth pastor. I'm just heading to my work in Summersville to get the rest of the stuff. Then I'm going back to the church and I'm putting it all together, get everything set up. And he says, I'm going to go run your tags and stuff, and then I'll come back and let you know. So he comes back and he was like, there's no outstanding warrants or anything. He gives me a ticket for speeding, and then he just kind of sends me on my way. But considering what the officer saw, pulling me over, seeing TVs in the back, flying out of Walmart, super surprised that I didn't go to jail that day. Because it all as you go.
I mean, you're in a hurry.
Yeah.
You're in a hurry, and you make very quick decisions in a hurry.
Yeah.
So I'm in CC's, Beckley, West Virginia. Everybody knows now CC's is gone.
Yeah.
Which was a travesty, I must personally say, because I loved CC's.
I was never a fan.
I like CC's.
Really?
And this
I
might be why CC's closed their doors. Like, this honestly might be,
Yeah.
I might be at fault for closing CC's.
Well,
So,
it wasn't anything like really financial, but
yeah. Well, let's hope they don't see this and decide to pursue any type of action. But
Yeah.
anyways, so for me personally, you know, not to get into too much deep, dark detail, when duty calls,
keep 13.
So, and it's just, I can't help it. It's just wherever I'm at, if nature calls, it's over.
Yeah.
It's like, it's over.
It's
for me.
instant.
It's, I have to go.
Yeah.
Like, I have to. If not, then I'm over here behind a car somewhere and I'll lose a pair of socks. Okay. So I'm at CC's and it's an emergency situation.
Mm-hmm.
I run into the stall, right? And somebody had already used it. And it looked like it was clogged already.
Yeah.
Like, it looked like it was already in a position of attention. So I wipe down the seat as fast as I can. You know what I mean? And do what I gotta do. And then I commence flushing.
Yeah.
And it just bubbles and overflows. I'm like, I can't leave it like this, because I'm a courteous kind of guy. I feel like, you know, if I make a mess, I feel like that I'm responsible and I have to, like,
nice
I will
of you.
never leave a bathroom dirty. Like, I will always leave that toilet spotless.
Well, that's good.
So
That's very good.
there's no plunger. There's no plunger. And I'm too embarrassed
Yeah.
to go tell somebody.
Yeah.
So there's a toilet brush. And I take said toilet brush.
Did you check the stall next to see if
There's only one stall.
Oh, so you're
Yeah, it was
at
a
least you're in there
stall.
by yourself.
Yeah, it was a stall and you're on.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, the door, I don't think the door locked. I can't remember.
Yeah.
There's been. But anyways, I grabbed the toilet brush and I'm like, okay, you know, I'm young at this point. I don't understand that the point of the plunger is to create suction, you know, and it's forcing air down in there. So I'm like, I'm just going to take this plunger and I'm going to yammer up into the toilet and it's going to break free and weigh down. So I'm doing that. I'm like, I'm in there
With the brush.
with the brush and I'm jabbing this thing in there, and like, I do one too many jabs.
Yeah.
And I'm up in there and I go to pull it off, and I don't know if like it went up inside of it, but it broke off inside of the toilet.
So what'd you do then?
I immediately dropped the broke end, opened the stall door, washed my hands, and quickly leave CC's. Didn't say a word to anybody.
Just bounce.
I 100% left. 100% left. And when you think about it, maybe I should have been arrested. Maybe,
I think if I was an officer and I found out, like, in the moment of that, I would have tried to arrest
you know, for sure. Maybe I should have been arrested. But, you know, speaking of arresting, here's another one. Here's another one. Kelly's family used to have a pig roast every year.
Yeah.
And
Man, I used to like a good picture.
oh, there's nothing like a good pig roast. And we get invited. I think this is their first time going, and this is when we first started dating, so it's my first time going. And we get there late, and they're serving the juice. You know what I'm saying? They're a little tipsy, okay? And there's this one individual that is completely out of control. He's an older gentleman. He's got to be in his 60s. He's a redneck. I mean, this dude is just outright. When you look up the word country redneck, he is the definition and the picture that you would
Is
see.
that in Webster?
Yeah, it should be, if it's not.
Okay.
But we were in Coal City. Did you mean we were in like Webster? Like
No, not Webster County, like Webster, like the dictionary.
Oh, no.
Because you said look up country redneck.
I mean, if you did look it up, I'm sure somebody might have put his picture there.
Okay.
I mean, the dude, you can't understand what he's saying. So we're having fun, and all night long, he's coming up to me. He's like putting his arm around me. He's hanging all over me. I don't know this guy from Adam. At first I'm thinking, oh, this is funny. He's just, he's messed up, whatever. then it gets to the point to where he's like grabbing my legs and stuff. Like he's feeling up on my thighs and like he's like scooting around on my knees and stuff. I'm like, bro, I'm getting a little uncomfortable. Like I'm looking at Kelly like, do you know this guy? Like, is there someone that we can talk to? And they go find somebody and tell them if they could have tell him. And he, he's all cool about it first. And then he walks over and he's like, hey, buddy, man, I didn't want you to feel like uncomfortable. And like in mid-sentence, this guy takes his arm, wraps it underneath my legs, okay, to the point to where he's probably touching some things he shouldn't be touching, and grabs my butt and just like hugs me awkwardly like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm done. I'm embarrassed. I don't know anybody here. I just started dating and I'm like, if this is what I'm getting to,
Yeah.
like, what? Do I need to make another choice here? Which I didn't because I love my little wife very much. But it was so awkward.
Yeah.
Made me so uncomfortable, and I was just like, I can't handle this. Like I felt like I should have called the police.
Very well could have. That's insane. I don't know how I would react.
Yeah. Like my fight or flight kicked in, and usually like back then I was a little bit of a scrapper every now and then, But at that point I'm frozen in fear because this guy's like, he's grabbing and groping and slumping and drumping. I'm like, okay.
Slumping and
Drumping on what he shouldn't be slumping and drumping on, and that was me.
never been slumping.
Well, it is not a good experience.
So I mean that's pretty much our. I'm sure we have more.
Oh my word.
So many more public encounters, but
for hours.
if we did like a top, I guess 5 or 6
Yeah.
list, these would be the ones that would be up there. So I'm sure you guys have probably had some encounters.
Absolutely.
Drop them down below.
Yeah.
Comment them. You can send us your stories, and we'll, if they're good enough, I'm sure
We'll
we'll
talk
read
about
them aloud.
Yeah.
I'm sure we could probably even unfortunately relate to some of these encounters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, do the basic stuff. Like our page, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time.
Deuces.